Welcome back to another episode of the Co-Courtside podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined here with Seth Greenberg, a current college basketball analyst for ESPN, former college basketball coach as well, and just overall really respected in the basketball world. How you doing today, Seth?
Doing good, man. How you doing? Sorry, I was a little late.
No worries. I see you got the summer league sweatshirt on. That's we met briefly there this past summer. At least for me, it was like my third year working the event and being there, and you can attest to this too. It really is an incredible event just in terms of networking and the people you meet. I was able to meet people like you, and it really is a great experience.
Yeah, it's the epicenter of basketball, basically, in the summer. I mean, you think about it, there's no pressure. GMs, coaches, players, agents, international owners, and team executives, and it's just a great time for coaches to get together, basketball world to get together, share ideas, and in a very relaxed environment. The only people that have stress on them is the guys that are playing because they're playing for jobs, whether they're playing for a roster spot, an invite to get into camp, or an opportunity to play overseas because all those overseas decision makers are there as well. So, and then you put on top of that what Albert has been able to do with the program that he's put together in terms of developing young leaders in the game of basketball, in terms of the business side of it. It is really a great experience. Love going there, and I have so much respect for Albert and what they've been able to build to complement the NBA in terms of creating a summer experience to make basketball a 12-month sport. He and Warren Legary have had a vision, and that vision's become a reality.
And you've seen it from when it started, right? It's totally transformed to this giant, like you said, worldwide event.
Yeah, I mean, like way back in the day, it was at Long Beach State, the Pyramid, where I was
Right.
there, and now obviously you've got Utah and you've got other places that are precursors to what happens in Vegas, but Vegas is the epicenter. So they've done a great job of growing the whole 2 week session. ESPN obviously has been a big part of it. Obviously NBA TV has been a big part of it. But really, the biggest thing is, it's a meeting place. And what Albert and Warren have been able to do to wrap all the different events around it to help develop young coaches, develop young administrators and front office executives, to put them and give them exposure to some of the great minds in the game of basketball, whether it's as coaches or in terms of front office, is pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a good point you bring up because it's not just players, getting their shot at things. It's even referees are getting looked at, coaches, executives, like you said. I want to go into your, coaching career a little bit. You said you coached at Long Beach State. You got into coaching right after your playing career. Was this something that you always had interest in, or how did that come about?
Yeah, it's the only thing I ever wanted to do. I was really fortunate. My dad played for the great Claire B. I was around basketball since I was basically born. It was a passion. I grew up in the five-star basketball camp with, if you think about some of the greats that have grown in that organization, from Howie Garfinkel and Will Klein, whether it's UB Brown, whether it's John Calipari, whether it's Rick Pitino, it's a who's who of coaches today. And, we basically learned how to work, learned how to teach, learned how to be accountable. The Foster basketball camp created great players like the Jordans, and you could go on and on and on. The Ewings, and you look at the top 50 players in the history of college basketball and in the NBA. They probably went to five-star, but it also was a breeding ground for coaches, people that were really serious. They had great high school coaches where you could sit and spend time with them. It had great college coaches. It had guys that could sit in a room and listen to these great teachers teach. And one of the greatest things about five-star was not just you had an opportunity to teach, you had an opportunity to have people watch you teach. You also had to learn how to teach. And a lot of that was, whether it was in Honesdale or Pittsburgh, at the end of the evening, going out and being on the outside of the inner circle and listening to some of these great teachers and great basketball coaches talk about the game, their love for the game, how to teach their game, being innovative, you know, having ideas that are outside the box. A lot of people who, like a guy named Marv Kessler, coach at Van Buren High School and at Adelphi. Ron Rothstein, who was in the NBA, was a former high school coach. And there's so many of these great coaches that started at five star that were teachers first.
Hmm.
And they had PhDs in teaching basketball and motivation. And if you look at the list of coaches that have played that worked there, that started there, it's pretty mind-boggling.
See, that's an interesting point you bring up, how they are all teachers beforehand. I know coaching in basketball is a ginormous thing, but would you say that the teaching aspect and the motivational aspect was a start for you before you got into all the X's and O's and, running plays and that type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, like I played for a great coach, a guy named Alabama, who was nice assistant at Army, was UB Brown's high school coach. Was in the New Jersey Coaches Hall of Fame. Just a great, great coach, great teacher. But yeah, I mean, like it's communication. I was a communications major in college. Send or
Me
receive the
too. Just
feedback.
graduated. Yeah, there we go.
Congratulations. So, I mean, to be able to be a great teacher, you got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to connect with people. You got to be able to find out what makes people tick. You got to be able to present ideas and concepts in a way that people can digest them. So, yeah, I think that, let's face it. I mean, the world of college basketball has changed. I mean, like when I got my job at Columbia right out of college, think I made $11,000. And I was, just to be part of a team, and
Mhm.
that was a great lesson. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was absolutely clueless, but I was fortunate to work for a guy named Buddy Mahar. We were there for a couple of years, had really good players. Ricky Frew was a great player, originally from Boys and Girls High School, and a guy named Alton Bird who works in the NBA right now. But more importantly, it was different then. There wasn't AAU basketball, 5 Star and BC Camp, and all these camps were basically took over for what is grassroots basketball today. The agents were involved. It was all about coaches. You worked at 5 Star to try to have an opportunity to
Right.
learn about coaching. So uh, the world of college basketball has changed. I mean, there's NIL in prep schools. There's NIL in AAU teams. But that I would not trade those times for anything because I was around great people, great teachers, people that taught me how to do things the right way. Was able to make a lot of mistakes, and through those mistakes, that's how you grow. So that 5 Star education, playing for Alabama, being around the game in the summer for 10 straight weeks, going camp to camp to camp to camp, was basically an incredible education for me.
Mhm. When you do see the NIL world today and how coaching has really evolved and changed, is that something you're like, I'm glad I got out of it early, or you kind of want another stab at it?
No, I mean, look, like I didn't get in coaching for the money. I didn't even ask what I was getting paid until I renegotiated my contract at Virginia Tech when I was offered another job. So, no, I mean, like if you're going to coach today, you got to understand, all right, this is part of what it is. And you're either going to do what you're comfortable doing, adapt, have agility, or you're not. But in the end, coaching is still helping someone get somewhere they can't get themselves. Coaching still is demanding and having a standard and core beliefs and non-negotiables and holding your players to those things. I think that too many times guys still get so caught up in the NIL part of it, they forget to coach their team because they're afraid to coach their team.
Right.
Because, well, if I coach this guy really hard, dude, he's going to transfer. Well, if you don't coach him really hard, if you don't help him get better, if you don't kind of push the sides of the box out, then you know what? He's not going to help you win. And it makes no difference. He's going to leave anyway. So, like, coach your team, coaches. I mean, it's the most important thing. So, look, I loved what I did. I am very, very fortunate to do what I do today. I work with incredible, incredible people, uh, whether it's the researchers, whether it's the producers, whether it's the directors, all our support staff, the people I work with. Uh, but I don't think I'd have any problem going back and coaching today. I've say, right, this is who I am. This is how I win. This is what I want to get done. And if I'm going to get back in coaching, these are the things that I've got to understand and utilize. It's you got to have agility. Actually, I think that with what I've done the last 14 years, being around all the great teachers and coaches and practices I've been to, and then being on TV all the time, probably have a very hard time raising money and also being a better coach. But I love what I'm doing. I'm very fortunate to be doing what I'm doing, and I'm starting my 14th year at ESPN, and it's been a great ride.
Well, congrats to that. I every Saturday morning waking up, watching you guys on game day, you guys are really insightful and help me improve my college basketball knowledge. And that's a good point you bring up there too. Like you kind of seeing basketball from a different lens now, from, being an analyst, going to practices, maybe getting advice from other coaches. Has that opened a new lens to basketball for you?
Well, you just get a chance to see how different people do things. What it did, it reinforced that what we were doing at the places I've been was pretty good. And we were doing a lot of good things. And now I spend a lot of my time mentoring coaches, trying to help them make sure they don't make the same mistakes I made, because I made a lot of mistakes. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, it's great to go to practice. It's great to watch how people are doing things, how they're teaching, how they're utilizing the summer now, because you get the summer where you can go and work with your players. Are you putting everything in? Like there are teams now that can go out and play a game right now. Or is it player development? Is it concept development? Is it skill development? How much time are you spending defensively? Uh, how much individual time are you spending with your players? How much time are you spending with your locker room? Because you're only as good as your locker room. Those 8 weeks in the summer are, I think, so valuable. And getting a feel for how different guys are using it. Some people are just putting a couple concepts in. Some people putting their whole system in. Uh, you got to want your guys to be excited to get back in the gym. Like, they've got the number of practices that they can have, official practices they can have coming up. It's a year-round sport. You don't want to burn guys out, but also when they're in the gym, there's got to be accountability. All right. It isn't time to play grab ass. It's time to get better. So, I mean, I think it's really important. Some guys say, well, I'm more, well, you know what? Here's the deal. You're setting the tone for your next year's team in the summer. So if you don't demand that they play hard, if you don't demand that they compete, if you don't demand that they're good teammates, you don't demand that they're accountable, they're going to think that's acceptable. And that's a habit that they just developed that it is impossible to get them out of. So you might go a shorter period of time, but for whatever you go, you better go hard. And there's got to be accountability of doing things right. Almost right is wrong. They got to be doing things right. Because if not, then you're going to bring them back and you're going to get to your practices at the end of September or middle of September. And now all of a sudden, you spent 8 weeks programming your guys to think a certain way that this is acceptable. And then all of a sudden you go, no, that's not acceptable. And how do you get your guys then to buy into competing the way they need to compete to be successful? The hardest playing, toughest team finds a way to win, without a doubt. And every time you go in that gym, you got to be that team.
Mhm.
The day that you're not that team is the day, as a coach, you're condoning not competing, not playing hard, not playing the right way, not sharing the basketball, not talking, not being connected, and all the things you need to have a chance to win.
Is defense the thing that comes first for you? Like if you don't play defense for me, you're not getting on the court.
Got to get stops. You got to compete. Playing hard is the first thing. And if you play hard, you're going to be all right defensively. And then you got to learn technique. You got to be unselfish. You got to play hard. You got to be a good teammate. You got to understand who you are and how you win. You got to accept the role. You got to champion that role. Show people what you can do, not people what you can't do, while you're trying to improve those other things. But yeah, you got to guard. You got to check people. Like, here's the thing: my teams that I had, Virginia Tech, Long Beach State, South Florida, we had really really good players, guys that got better. Now we played our guys as freshmen, but you know, Duke had pros,
Hmm.
Carolina had pros, Maryland had pros, Wake Forest had Chris Paul, they had pros. Well, how are we going to win? We had to define how we were going to win. So we had to check people. We couldn't turn the ball over. We had to limit people to one shot. We had to have our best players, have the ball in their hands to make plays, to make the game easier for other people. So everywhere you coach, you got to figure out how you're going to win. I didn't do a great job at South Florida figuring out how we could win until really too late. At Virginia Tech and at Long Beach State, I figured out how we were going to win. And that was going to be every 4 years, we would recruit a class. We were going to play those guys, and they were going to play through their mistakes. And then we were going to get really good because one thing we were going to do is they knew they were going to play hard, but they became better basketball players. So uh, every place is different. Your game plan of how you're going to win at each school's got to be a little different. Uh, and like this thing that still sticks with me, probably in my head coaching career, is it took me too long really to dig in and figure out exactly how I had to construct my roster and build my team at South Florida, where we were able to figure that out at Long Beach State and Virginia Tech.
How does the preparation change, or how do you prepare your team when you're at Virginia Tech and you got a gauntlet of a schedule? You're going to Cameron Indoor, then to Chapel Hill at UNC, just an absolute gauntlet of a schedule. Is that, apparent to you, or
No different.
No
No,
different.
definitely. What you do is you build your system to beat the best team on your schedule. So you play in the ACC, you have to play a style of play that is going to give you the best chance to beat Duke and Carolina. We had a 5 year period that people don't talk about. It's kind of funny. We had a 5 year period with the third winningest program in the ACC. Duke, Carolina, Virginia Tech. And we got into the ACC. People thought we were going to ruin the league. Oh my God, it's a football school. It's this, it's that. They're going to ruin the league. Then our first year, we got to buy in the ACC tournament 4 times. So I mean, uh, what you've got to do is you got to figure out, all right, how can I beat the best team in this conference? And then build your system around that. And if you can beat the best team in the conference, it gives you a chance to beat everyone else in your conference.
That's a good point. And you said football school too. That probably had some extra motivation for you too, right? When you got to
No,
Virginia.
hey, they did a great job at Virginia Tech. I mean, what Coach Beamer built was incredible. It's just, to me, I use
Yeah.
that as a saying,
No,
if
I
you can do it,
know.
you can do it in football, we can do it in basketball. We did
Exactly.
it, and we did it in basketball. We took over the job. They'd never been to the Big East tournament ever. So they were in the Big East when I took over the job. They'd never been to the Big East tournament. Our first year, not only we go to the Big East tournament, but we won a game.
Mhm.
Then we moved to the ACC, and they said we're going to bring down the ACC. I mean, it's they're not going to be competitive. And then first year, all right, we beat Duke and JJ Redick, and we were 8-8 and got to buy in the ACC tournament. All right, and then all of a sudden, 2 years later, got to buy again, and we won at Duke and at Carolina. So I'm really proud of what we were able to accomplish at Virginia Tech. Only one NCAA tournament, one win, but there were a lot of things that went into that that were out of our control. But when you're winning 10 and 11 and 12 games in the ACC, you're doing a pretty good job. And I'm proud of our players were terrific. And, Xavier Dowdell and Jamon Gordon and Coleman Collins and Deron Washington and Malcolm Delaney and Eric Green and AD Vasayo. I mean, we had good players, really good players that bought into our vision and I think basically sold people that Virginia Tech could win in the ACC.
And you totally, and that could set up the program, for years to come after you get there. It's all about setting up a culture and a program. So I think you just did just that. Um, and then I want to talk about your time at ESPN now just a little bit. You said it's going to be your 14th year. Was being, an on-air talent or studio analyst something that you always intrigued you, or how did that come about?
I thought eventually I would do something like that, but it happened a little bit prematurely, to be totally honest. I was absolutely ambushed by the former athletic director at Virginia Tech. Uh, but I was fortunate that I had done some TV and ESPN gave me the opportunity. Not everyone gets this opportunity. I don't take it for granted. Uh, like I said, I work with really, really good people and I work really hard at this to be good at it. Uh, you don't just roll out and start talking, about 150 teams. Uh, it's hours and hours and hours of work. It's hours of watching film. It's hours of talking to coaches. It's hours of going to practices. It's hours of uh, putting in the time so that you can, you know, be intelligent. Like, some people want to stop, hot takes. I'm not, if I say something, it happened. I'm not making stuff up and I don't have an agenda. I've had to criticize my dearest friends' teams. But then again, I've also had the opportunity, which has been nice, to be able to talk about some of my closest friends' teams. I've been able to mentor coaches and be a sounding board and receive phone calls and wanting insight. Uh, but I've just been really fortunate. I've been very, very lucky. Not everyone has been as fortunate as I've been to, say I've started coaching at 21. I've coached in the, ACC. I went to the Final Four as an assistant at Virginia. I helped Pitt transition from the Atlantic 10 to the Big East. I became a head coach at a very young age at Long Beach State. Went into Cameron Indoor Stadium and Fog Allen and the Dean Dome and Freedom Hall and the Pyramid in Memphis and found a way to win some games. Uh, the Comcast Center and so I've been no one's I've been really really fortunate to be honest with you.
What is the loudest place that you say loudest arena?
The loudest arena. Shoot, it might be at Santa Barbara in the Thunderdome for all I know. And it's only 5,000 people, or at the Pyramid when I was at the Gold Mine when I was at Long Beach State. Look, there's some great pageantry in college basketball,
Yeah.
like the pageantry of a pregame at Kansas. I still remember we were fortunate to win there, but I remember sitting in the tunnel and watching just for that game, watching just the pageantry that led up to the game. It was choreographed and it was just the great passion. And, it's a reflection of what college basketball
Mhm.
should look like. But I mean, playing in
Yeah.
Cameron, playing in the Dean Dome, playing. I've played in so many. I played at UCLA. I played at Arizona against Lute Olson. You know, I played in some of the great facilities and venues in all of the history of college basketball. To me, my favorite place is, as a New Yorker, is going into Madison Square Garden. We won back-to-back holiday festivals, beating St. John's in the finals, both times. I mean, for a kid from New York to walk, that's before they moved the configuration to walk through that middle tunnel where Willis came out. I was at that game when Willis came out in the last row of the Garden. Uh, to do that as a coach and have your own team, that's a pretty cool thing. That's a lifetime memory.
Did you ever coach or play a game at Chapman University? That's where I went because I know that's pretty close to Long Beach State. Maybe
Chapman?
It's a D3. It's a D3
Yeah,
school.
no, we didn't
Okay.
do it. Yeah,
Just thought I'd ask because back then maybe like an exhibition game or something, but
yeah. No, Chapman is right over. That's an Orange, right?
yeah, Orange County. Yep.
My wife worked in Orange.
Yeah, no, it's great little college town. It's a good location, and I had a great time there. So, um, yeah,
That's
but
good.
Seth, I really appreciate you for taking the time today, man. I don't want to keep you here any longer.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
Um,
And just keep on grinding.
yeah,
Chase your
thanks,
dreams.
man.
Chase your dreams, and get a chance. If you're living in California, you should get over to see Mick Cronin practice. You should go see Musk practice. You should go see UCI practice. Terrific coach, Russell Turner. Go down to Long Beach. I mean, there's a lot of places you can go to meet people, develop network, and learn.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and maybe I'll see you next year at Summer League too in Vegas.
You got it. I'll be there. You
All
got
right,
it, brother.
thanks,
All right,
Seth. Have a
Alex.
good
Thank
one.
you. All right,
Bye.
bye bye.